Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent. All praise are due to Allah the Almighty, of whom we ask to send His peace and blessings upon His final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is His final messenger, and so on. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to another episode of Visual Addiction, a form of addiction like no other. If a person was addicted into cocaine, marijuana, weed, whatever kind of substances, if a person was addicted in stealing, if a person was addicted in any kind of other sin, a person can know the way in an easier manner. But when it comes to pornographic addiction, may Allah protect us all. It does not only constitute the act of self-pleasuring or the act of subscribing and supporting these companies, but it puts you in a trap like no other. At least when a person falls into other sins, again, they're all wrong in the sight of Allah, and as Muslims, we're against all forms of sin. But at least we understand the mentality and we are able of pinpointing out the problems. But when it comes to pornography, the industry themselves, have invested billions of dollars in countermeasures, such as it's a normal trait. A person can watch pornography, right? This is what they're fighting for. But with us, inshallah, to clarify, along with his beautiful acquaintances and wonderful guests, is our brother, Mr. Wa'il Ibrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. How are you today?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very well, alhamdulillah. How about you, brother, and the entire team?
Alhamdulillah, we're all very well. Thank you very much for asking. And may Allah bless you, your family, your loved ones, and the entire world. Allahumma ameen.
You too.
Ameen ya Rabb. So, brother, now I wanted to ask you like a set of questions today. People may start to realize as follows, that we're starting to take it into a higher level now. We were speaking of identifying, what's the term, what's happening in our minds, in the market, in the industry. But now we want to go back to our personal selves, and we want to countermeasure that. We want to have precautionary measures. So in your own words, how can we disrupt the brain? How can we get rid of this addiction?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I'm very happy that you used that the disruption of the brain part, because we have already established that whatever we have introduced to our brain several times, immediately it is registered, and a pathway for that particular activity is engraved in your brain, and your brain will produce those chemicals to remind you of this activity again and again until it becomes on an autopilot kind of action. So you would do it without even realizing. Just like brushing your teeth every morning. You don't plan for it. You just automatically do it because it becomes part of who you are. It becomes part of your daily activities. So in order for us to disrupt this cycle of addiction, we have to understand what is the cycle of addiction in the first place. So again, identification of what we do, identifying what we do is very, very necessary. So I wanted to speak briefly, inshallah ta'ala, about the cycle of addiction, and then we can talk about how can we disrupt the cycle. Does that sound logical, brother?
Of course, I couldn't agree more. And please do not wait for my consent. I am literally following your path. May Allah bless you.
I just wanted the viewer to also follow, because I'm sure that there are people who are desperate to get those pills, those techniques quickly. But actually, we have been in this for 12 years or more, and we really know that this is the way how you go about it. Understanding, that's why the aware name came, the aware, wa'i. The awareness is very, very necessary. Understanding how pornography could destroy you, how it works, how the addiction works, all these are necessary. So let's begin, inshallah, by just briefly identifying the cycle of addiction. Number one, it all starts by a trigger, a cue that attracts your attention. And as a result, you become interested in the action. So that's number one in the cycle of addiction, is a trigger. Something that you see as a result of not lowering your gaze, for example. And as you stare or as you look at that particular trigger, you start fantasizing about it. You start dreaming of doing something haram, may Allah protect us all, with that particular individual. we get clients of all sorts, those who actually fantasize about having sexual intercourse with their relatives, with their cousins, with their even sisters. May Allah protect us. This is how demonic pornography is. It can twist your understanding of this beautiful, relationship between yourself and other people. After fantasy comes the rituals now, preparation of getting into the act itself, the act of pornography and self-pleasuring. So rituals perhaps is to get behind closed doors, lock the doors, make sure that no one sees the devices and so on. And then the action itself, start viewing until you reach to that expected pleasure, the climax, and that temporary pleasure. And I always tell the people, subhanAllah al-azim, the climax that happen through screens and pornography last for nearly 3 seconds. That's all what you feel. After that, the phase of regret and darkness that strike right after those 3 seconds last for a really long time. Wallahi, brother, the emails that I received, the description of how people feel about themselves as a result of the relapses is just indescribable. You cannot even fathom what they see and what they feel at that time. And after the rituals and after the act, then comes the tolerance. At a certain point in the cycle of addiction, you start tolerating the actions. You don't care anymore. It becomes who you are. As we said, your brain will put that action on an autopilot. So whenever you see that trigger, immediately you fantasize, you go into the rituals, you start acting out, and then a phase of darkness, a phase of regret, and then tolerance, numbing. You start becoming, accustomed to the action. And because you didn't lower your gaze again, or because you didn't protect yourself from those triggers, the cycle kept on repeating itself again and again. So now, alhamdulillah, briefly, this is just, I can't believe myself that I went that fast to explain the cycle of addiction. There are much more to it than what I just said. But our job as counselors, as coaches, as people who are, alhamdulillah, trying to help those who are addicted to pornography is to find a loophole, as they said, something to disrupt that cycle so that the brain can register another healthier activities. That's our job. And that works when we talk to our clients about their daily activities and daily rituals and daily routine. It's very difficult, brother. There is no one set of, recovery program for everyone. We have to dig deeper into why it happens, when it happens, and what exactly happened, so that we can, inshallah ta'ala, help them to break that cycle.
I would totally agree with you, brother, mashallah, because I even put that in other systems as well. If a person wants to say, hey, let's go to the gym and exercise and lose weight, they go to the nutritionist, they expect that there's only one sheet of paper that is universal. It can be used by each and every individual. Not knowing that our bodies are different, our fingerprints are different. So even the mind itself works differently. They're subdivided into 2 categories for the female and male, but it doesn't mean that each and every female is the same as the other, and the same for the males as well.
I remember back in the days when I had hair, I used
May
to
Allah
go
bless
to
you.
the
May Allah
barber,
bless you.
and I would tell him, I would look at those photos, on the walls of perhaps models and stuff like that, and I want this kind of haircut. I want you to get me exactly that haircut on this head. The barber would tell me, like, it's impossible. That's not your structure. The skull is different, the face is different, everything's different. Even your hair is different than this actor or that person. So again, but the cycle is almost the same for everyone. There are triggers, there are rituals, there are fantasies that going through everyone's brain. There are a certain level of tolerance. There are certain level of regret, and then the cycle continues. So the cycle itself is the same for everyone. Just we need, in order, that's now a first practical step for you today, inshallah ta'ala, is number 1, identify those triggers. Again, a pen and a notebook, get them ready, a journal, whatever, your iPad, as the brother Mustafa said the other episode, anything that you wanted to use in order for you to get clarity and become aware, and write down what are these triggers, and go for as many triggers as you possibly can. Write them down and make yourself very, very clear about those triggers. Because the next step would be what? Guess what would be the next step?
After admitting to
Avoiding.
the problem itself?
No, avoiding those triggers, simply.
Okay.
So if the trigger is YouTube, you know that once you're on YouTube, aimlessly, without any plan, you're just watching videos of perhaps video clips, music videos, movies, and whatnot, and you know that the end would be falling into porn, and you have tried that many times, and you know that it's coming, you're trying to resist it, but you're still alone, you're within the same environment, you will fall, if not today, tomorrow. So if that's one of your trigger, avoid it. Don't watch pornography on your bed. Don't watch YouTube videos on your bed. Avoid that. Avoid that particular action. And this is just an example. So you'll have to find those triggers, write them down, and be very, very clear about it in order for you to disrupt that cycle.
May Allah bless you, brother. Is there any kind of form of manual that we would love to have from you, inshallah, in the future, even as a piece of paper, and in order to instruct us in further episodes? Because sadly, I will have to go for a break now, and that I am very, very pleased with your presence, and I'm very comfortable as well. I know that inshallah it's temporary. We continue going through the series together, and I really thank you for your presence, Mr. Wa'il. Thank you very much.
Jazakumullah khair. Inshallah, we'll arrange those manuals and links for everyone to have, inshallah, and to try on their own, bi'idhnillah ta'ala.
May Allah bless you. That will be indeed a great form of assistance. May Allah bless you, and allow me to say, with your permission, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalam wa rahmatullah.
Brothers and sisters, we need to discuss this whole paper and pen instruments, inshallah, and the methodology behind it. And God willing, we will be having to share that together with the community, to share with your loved ones, with our families. Rest assured that we all together are striving not to expose, not to judge, but to work with each other by the will of Allah. So inshallah, we're going out for a short break, and hope you will enjoy. Drink the coffee as much as you can, because you're going to need it, inshallah. And until then, stay tuned. Welcome back, brothers and sisters. We hope you've enjoyed your break. Now, brothers and sisters, we spoke again, time and time again, in regards to understanding the problem itself. And then we started in last episode how to start the recovery steps, how to start going forward now. Because again, we don't want to keep saying it's a problem, the numbers are there, we already know it, and it's really shocking. But now we want to take it up a notch, if you know what I mean. And with us to take it up a notch, in his own style, all the way from Australia, is our brother, Mr. Dean Musad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. How are you?
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm well, and yourself?
May Allah bless. Alhamdulillah, I'm very good. Thank you very much for asking, brother. Now, brother, I wanted to ask you, first thing, the moment I put myself in the plan to see you the next time, this came up to me. Now, how is it that we offer our children devices everywhere? We keep telling them, hey, we're going to get you the brandest new phones, the laptops, the theaters, whatever, you name it. Now, is it possible that we offer them these devices and expect no harm whatsoever? Can you elaborate on how dangerous it is?
Yes, so I believe parents are not educated in terms of giving their children, giving the people in their care, unrestricted access to Wi-Fi, unrestricted access to internet. And through this, I guess, lack of education in the harms that are online, we're seeing, the rise in pornography. I know as a teacher teaching in one of the Islamic schools here in Sydney, in Australia, when I speak to some of the parents and I tell them, look, your child is spending hours and hours and hours on their tablets, on their devices, they say, look, it's better that they're on these devices and they're out on the streets engaging with people, that we don't know. But the reality is, with different games that people may engage in, with different, features on people's smartphones, the world is at our fingertips. And so because they don't have that knowledge, they're not aware of the dangers that are lurking on these smartphones and tablets.
So, do you advise the parents that should they or should they not restrict the usage of such tools and equipment unless out in the open? Like, are you pro that or against it?
So look, I think we need to have a balanced approach. It's important to look at the reality around us. For myself, for example, with our smart devices at home, they should be out in the open. So they are out in the open in the common room, in the lounge room. Children under the ages of 18 should not have unrestricted access to internet. They should not be having TVs, laptops and the like in their bedrooms where parents are not privy to what they're viewing. And this is something where through wisdom and through consultation with your child, they will understand where you are coming from. They may not like it because they're being told potentially what to do, but I believe through that consultation approach and through showcasing the harms of this, in the long run, they will thank you for it.
So, in the end, the balanced approach is the best thing, not to extremely implement such things and to come out in a very logical manner. And very beautifully stated, I couldn't agree more. But what about the person, like if my child, when I tell them to do so in the balanced manner that you have specified, what if the child says to me that no, or I understand like most parents may have this problem. They may find the stubbornness of the little child who's still innocent, unable to know the gravity of the situation. What would you tell them?
So just like if I was to drive, for example, and there's, I'm going to a destination and there's a blocked road, there's roadworks happening. Does that mean that, because I can't go through to my destination through this particular route, I stop? No, I will need to find another way and another route and another alternative and another strategy to be able to get through, to get through my message, the intended message to my children. And we need to understand as well that we may have 2, 3, 4, 5 children. Each child learns differently, so what may work for one child may not work for the next. And so part of us being parents, even though we don't have an instruction manual on how to bring up kids, it's important that we continuously educate ourselves and try to keep up to date on different methods and different strategies to get what we want across to our child.
So that very mashallah, very convincing. But brother, I have one more question for you, if I may. Now, if the child or the teenager, whatever personality trait they are, and after quitting for a period of time, and they start to relapse, now there's the negative adverse effects. What do you advise us to do?
Very good. So similar example, say for example, you've got a young child, a child that's learning to walk. The child, when they're learning to walk, they may trip over, right? What do? They get back up and they try to walk again. And then what will happen again? They will fall back on their face. You don't see the young child that's trying to walk say, you know what? This walking stuff is not for me. I'm going to stay on the floor forever. So just as a child gets up and tries again, we as young adults, we as teenagers, we as humans, this is part of how we were created. When we fall, we must get back up, and we will continuously fall, and we must continuously get up till we reach our destination.
How do I encourage my child that keeps falling down on the face again? Like, what are the, like, if you can try to summarize, if possible, if my child falls down and they start to relapse, what are the adverse, sorry, not the adverse, what are the steps that I can take?
So look, every client, every individual is different. So, there's no one answer that suits all. But it's important to look at, the context, the circumstances of this particular child, and then implement some practical strategies. So it's not, it doesn't work when we just, scream down orders, scream down commands, do this, don't do that, stop this, how dare you. What we must do is we must try and understand the problem, similar to a doctor. When a patient comes through, they don't just give Panadol to every single client or every single patient that walks in. They get a brief understanding of the situation, the context, and then they will administer the right prescription, the right medication. So depending on the context of the problem, the context of the individual, then we try and tailor make a solution for this individual.
Couldn't agree more. And because I'm putting myself here as if now I'm the child, I'm no longer speaking as the adult here. Now the child finds that his father or mother, now someone caught me watching pornography. What is the first thing that I expect out of my father? Of course, in the Middle Eastern cultures, we can only imagine missiles and fire-breathing dragons, ninjas fighting in from the windows. But other than that, what do you advise for the commonality, the common understanding? What should the children expect from us?
So a similar experience, when I was growing up, my dad would always tell me, if you tell me yourself, there's not going to be any problems. But if I find out, there's going to be problems. Right? So I think it's very important for us to develop those feelings of trust, with our children, with our dependents. And I believe that if this is done from a very young age, that, our children will open up to us. It's important that we do develop those relationships with those that are under our control, because essentially we want to be their mentor, we want to be their trusted advisor. And so I believe through experience that if from a young age you have opened those ways of communication, you've opened those doors up of trust and transparency, then I believe that this will be the way that we can save the future generations from, not knowing what to do by themselves, because they will come across this content whether we like it or not. We are moving into a fast-paced technological age, and so it's not a matter of, if they will consume this content, it's a matter of when. So we must, implement, different strategies to build the trust with our children, and hope with the hard work that we put in with them at such a young age that inshallah, when they do come across problems in their life, that it will be us that they turn to.
May Allah bless you, brother. I truly have benefited from this episode and the previous episode as well when we spoke together. And I find that you're very smooth in talking about it, because most of the brothers, when we sit outside, as young men, we would always say to each other all of the mistakes that we have committed. Because not each and every individual of the community has the full understanding of how not to expose his sins. So you find people boastfully or arrogantly speaking of their sins, whilst others don't do that, and they only seek out the person who's there to support them and to replenish this entire habit or undesirable addiction. So from my perspective, I see that you as a brother, mashallah, you're very honest, you're speaking out, you've experienced something in the past, and you just want to help others. You want to provide others a clearer path. So may Allah bless you, and we are very honored with your presence today, and we ask Allah the Almighty to always allow us to be there with us, inshaAllah ta'ala. Thank you very much.
May Allah bless you. Barakallahu feek.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Brothers and sisters, we all learn from our mistakes from each and every one of the communities as well. And we're here to stand as one body, as one mind, as one heart. We only have two eyes, but these two eyes, they cannot see everything. They can't see dangers. It is your mind equipped with knowledge and wisdom that can countermeasure, that can put precautionary measures. We need, as families, as householders, as people who have children, to take care of the community, not only of ourselves, but the entire world. We need to share the message that we need to stop this undesirable habit, because it's not only perverted, it's not only unnatural, it's also something which consumes not only your time, but your life, your health, your rizq, your blessings. Allah the Almighty is the one who blesses all. So let us strive to please Him. If you fall down, it doesn't mean you're weak, or it doesn't mean you're a hypocrite. It means you're a normal human being. So let us ask Allah the Almighty to strengthen our faith, to make us stronger and commit to that which pleases Him in this world and in the hereafter. Allahumma ameen. Until then, brothers and sisters, I bid you farewell. Stay safe, stay tuned, and most of all, stay pious. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.